Arkansas is banning or restricting, I should say, Arkansas restricts school bathroom use by transgender people. This is a story from the Associated Press at apnews.com. Little Rock, Arkansas. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders on Tuesday signed a law prohibiting transgender people at public schools from using the restroom that matches their gender identity, the first of several states expected to enact such bans this year amid a flood of bills nationwide targeting the trans community. The bill signed by the Republican governor makes Arkansas the fourth state to place such restrictions at public schools, and it comes as bills in Idaho and Iowa also await their governor's signature. And it might be followed by an even stricter Arkansas bill criminalizing transgender adults using public restrooms that match their gender identity. Arkansas's law, which won't take effect until later this summer, applies to multi-person restrooms and locker rooms at public schools and charter schools serving pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. The majority Republican legislator gave final approval of the bill this week. The governor has said she will sign laws that focus on protecting and educating our kids, not indoctrinating them, and believes our schools are no place for the radical left's woke agenda, Alexa Henning, Sanders' spokesperson, said in a statement. Arkansas isn't going to rewrite the rules of biology just to please a handful of far-left advocates. Similar laws have been enacted in Alabama, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, although lawsuits have been filed challenging the Oklahoma and Tennessee restrictions. Proposals to restrict transgender people using the restroom of their choice have seen a resurgence this year, 6 years after North Carolina repealed its bathroom law in wake of widespread protests and boycotts. More than 24 bathroom bills have been filed in 17 states, according to the Human Rights Campaign. They're signaling out transgender people for no other reason than dislike, disapproval, and misunderstanding of who transgender youth are, said Paul Castillo, senior counsel and students' rights strategist for Lambda Legal. And the entire school population suffers as a result of these types of bills, particularly schools and teachers and administrators who are dealing with real problems and need to focus on creating a welcome environment for every student. The proposals are among a record number of bills filed to restrict the rights of transgender people by limiting or banning gender-affirming care for minors, banning transgender girls from school sports, and restricting drag shows. Transgender people have also faced increasingly hostile rhetoric at state houses. Another bill pending in Arkansas goes even further than the North Carolina law by imposing criminal penalties. That proposal would allow someone to be charged with misdemeanor sexual indecency with a child if they use a public restroom or changing room of the opposite sex when a minor is present. It's a flagrant message from them that they refuse to respect transgender people's rights and humanity, to respect Arkansas's rights and humanity, said Holly Dixon, Executive Director of the American Civil Liberties Union of Arkansas. The new Arkansas law requires schools to provide reasonable accommodations, including single-person restrooms. Superintendents, principals, and teachers who violate the prohibition could face fines of at least $1,000 from a state panel, and parents could also file private lawsuits to enforce the measure. Each child in our schools has a right to privacy and to feel safe and to feel comfortable in the bathroom they need to go to, Republican Representative Mary Bentley, the bill's sponsor, told lawmakers earlier this year. But Clayton Crockett, the father of a transgender child, described to lawmakers earlier this year how a similar policy adopted at his daughter's school made her feel further marginalized. She feels targeted. She feels discriminated against. She feels bullied. She feels singled out, Crockett said at a House panel hearing on the bill in January. Opponents have also complained that legislation doesn't provide funding for schools that may need to build single-person restrooms to provide reasonable accommodations. At least 2 federal appeals courts have upheld transgender students' rights to use the bathroom corresponding with their gender identity. Supporters of the bill, however, have cited a federal appeals court ruling upholding a similar policy at a Florida school district last year. The Arkansas measure won't take effect until 90 days after the legislature adjourns this year's session, which isn't expected to happen until next month at the earliest. Sanders signed the bill a week after she approved legislation making it easier to sue providers of gender-affirming care to minors. That law, which also doesn't take effect until this summer, is an effort to effectively reinstate a ban on such care for minors that's been blocked by a federal judge. Sanders earlier this month also signed a wide-ranging education bill that prohibits classroom instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation before 5th grade. The restriction is similar to a Florida measure that critics have called the Don't Say Gay law. So you guys, I'm going to give my opinion on some of this. The classroom restriction for kids below 5th grade. So in 5th grade, you're 10 years old, right? You may have your first crush on someone. Why in the hell would they want children before 5th grade to know anything about sexual orientation or gender identity? As I said in a previous video, I was a tomboy because I had brothers. I did not have a sister until I was well into my teens. And so I grew up with brothers. My uncle was only 5 years older, and we all played cops and robbers. We all played Army, Navy. I mean, I played football, but not tackling. I forgot what you call it, but touch football or flag football or something like that with my brothers. And, we rode bikes around, and I used to put my older brother's shirts on because, I wanted to be like my brothers. But I was little. I was a kid. And by the time I was like 12 years old, I was wearing my hair with curls, wearing girl clothes. You could not get me into a boy shirt at that time. But kids, 5th grade, they shouldn't be told anything about this crap, especially below 5th grade. You're talking about little children. And guess what else I think about this? I think that anything having to do with sex. Okay, so we had sex ed at our school when we were like 15 or 16. Okay, kids should not be talking about sex until they are old enough to have sex ed in school. It is none of your damn business what a parent wants their kid to know about sex at that age. 5th grade and under, you dumbasses. Yes, I did say it. It is super dumb to stick your nose into what a family wants their kids to know. No one should be teaching these kids about anything, sexual at that age. Whew. Yes, it pissed me off that these people want to talk to your little kids who are still playing with baby dolls, who don't have anything on their minds unless someone is putting it there, right? That is my opinion on that part, okay? And with the restrooms, so if you're a grown man or woman and you find your way into a restroom that kids or young teenagers are in, and you are a biological male or a biological woman, why would you want to go into the kids' restroom? You're a grown man and you're in there with little girls. You must be crazy. Why? I mean, you do what you want with your body. You identify how you want, and you should not be penalized. You should not be treated horribly, harshly, any different than we would treat anyone else, because you have a right to live and you have a right to do what you want to do with your body, 18 and older. But you don't have a right to go into a restroom with little girls or little boys, teenagers, whatever. You're a grown adult. Stay out of their restrooms. Parents have a right to know that their kids are not being exposed. Okay, if you're a little girl and you're in the restroom and your teacher has not had the bottom surgery and they're in your restroom, girls' restroom with a full penis, I just don't see how that makes sense. You go to the adults' restroom. I don't think that grown-ups should go to the same restroom as kids, because women, biological women, can also abuse little boys and little girls. It's wrong. That is how I feel. If you feel differently, that is your opinion. We are all entitled to our own opinions. I'm not advocating for, harming anyone in the transgender community. That is wrong. You let people live how they want to live if they're not harming anyone else. And because you identify as a grown person opposite of your biological makeup, that is your business. The first transgender person I ever met, I was in college. And guess what? It was a biological male, transitioned to a female. No one spoke to him. No one was nice. People laughed and pointed. I went over after class one day and I introduced myself, because he's a human being, you guys. And we went to movies together. We went to dinners together. We laughed. We joked. And whenever he went to another, college, he moved out of state, I got a letter. And I still have that letter till this day, thanking me for being the one person in our school that treated him kindly. And I was never ashamed to be with this person. I was never ashamed to be out in public laughing and joking, because it's a human being. He has a soul and a heart. And although I never said she and I didn't say he, I always called him by the name that he chose to be called by. Everyone deserves love and kindness. But when it comes to little kids, that is where I draw the line. Leave kids alone. Let them enjoy their childhood. Stop putting all this pressure on little children. You do what the hell you want to do as an adult and leave them alone. Just let them be, right? Once they're old enough, if they decide they're gay or lesbian or trans, that is their decision. But I wholeheartedly believe that there are sick and twisted parents and teachers who are pushing this into some children. I've been watching Jazz Jennings on YouTube, and you guys, my opinion is that the mother pushed the kid. That is my opinion. I'm not saying that is what happened. In my opinion, that is what happened, and screwed everything up for this child. Leave children out of all of this. Let them grow into who they will become. And they will decide when they're old enough what they want their lives to look like. Can we just agree on that? If you are a biological male, you go to the restroom that has nothing to do with children. I don't care if you go into the women's restroom, but if you're in a school and you know that restroom is for children, you stay your ass out of there. Same goes for biological women who identify as male. You stay your ass out of the boys' restroom. There's no reason why an adult, especially in a school setting, should be in the same restroom as a child. You know, you teachers have your own restrooms, right? Well, at least when I was in school, our teachers went to the restroom that was in the teacher's lounge. And if there aren't enough, there's like a big school. My school was really small and it takes too much time. Guess what? The school needs to have other options, like closer. They need to build more restrooms. And this was a complaint in this story of some people that they did not put in a budget to build more restrooms. So if you're restricting, which I think is the correct thing to do, my opinion, my little bitty opinion, you can't say do this and don't do this when you don't budget for the changes. Anyway, you guys, always and forever protect the children. They come first. We have to protect the children from all the evil in this world. And I think that it is evil to push this on children. I really do. Let them grow up. Let them choose if they are trans, like I said, homosexual or lesbian. And don't push them either way. If you love your children, let them grow up into who they will become and don't expose them to all of this crap. Keep them off of TikTok, please. Because I truly believe a lot of the confusion comes from that app, and children should not be on it. That's just my opinion. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. And I'll say it again for those who are in the back of the room and couldn't hear me. I do not care what an adult does with their body. They should be treated just like you treat anyone else. They have a right to work. They have a right to safety. They have a right to health care. But none of us have a right to harm children. And I think talking to kids who are not your children about anything to do with sex until they are old enough for sex ed, which is in high school, I think is wrong. Let's talk about this in the comments.